What's going on, guys? Well, I tied up a lot of streamers a long time ago, and this happens to be one of them. This is actually one that I haven't even had a chance to test, but I have to tie up a second one in case it does really well and I end up under the misfortune of possibly losing it. So I'm going to go ahead and tie up another one just so that I have a second one, because like I said, if you lose one of these, you might not remember exactly how you tied it, and you're going to want to know exactly how you tied it, especially if it crushes it. This one I tied with the intention of fishing walleye for it. Somebody had told me one of the trigger point colors for walleye happened to be blue. So I went ahead up and tied this guy right here, and I call him Blue Balls. Okay, so mostly because of the color. And also, if you haven't caught any fish for a while, you guys get the point. But anyway, I figured I'd go ahead and do a fly tying tutorial on how to tie this guy. He's really, really simple. There's no counter ribs, there's no none of that stuff. It's one hook, there's no articulation, so you don't have to worry about the wire. So I used a Umpqua U301 in a size 4 for this particular hook. And then as far as the rest of the material goes, you're going to be using your large tungsten dumbbell eyes. I love these things. They got a lot of weight to them. They really do enhance the jig of the fly. For dubbing, you're going to need your UV Dun. It has that purplish kind of tint to it. You're going to need your Whiting's white rooster neck. You're going to need blue schlappen. You're going to need white blood quill marabou. And then you're going to need your blue barred rabbit strip. Okay? Now, like I said, this fly is really, really simple, but it is designed to ride like a dragger. So when you tie your dumbbell eyes onto this thing, make sure you tie them on the top of the hook and leave them on the top of the hook so that when you fish it, your hook rides like that, and you can go ahead and drag the bottom and not hang up as easily. When I first tied this, I used the red eyes. This time I'm going to use the yellow eyes. Make sure that's slid right where you want it. Right there, okay? You only want a little bit of room in front of the dumbbell eyes on this particular fly. And for thread, I'm using my Big Fish Danville. Actually, it's not even Dansville. It's Big Fish 400 denier right there. You can use any thread you want. It really doesn't matter. As long as the thread is strong enough to withstand the cranks of cranking down your material on all your streamers. So go all the way back to the barb of the hook, and you're going to tie in your 2 pieces of schlappen. I picked the 2 that happen to look a little bit more like saddle hackle, but you can get a more thicker piece of schlappen if you'd like. Lay them both together just like that, and then come in. Now for this particular tail, you're going to want this tail 2 times the length of the shank of the hook. So go ahead and pull that off just like that. That's the length of the tail you want right there. Okay? And tie these right onto the top of the hook. Just like that. Go ahead and snip off this excess. Get yourself a piece of blood quill white marabou and find your flexibility point. I went all the way so that I have most of this feather that I can go ahead and wrap. Go ahead and tie that in. Give that a good pull. Go over it one more time on your figure 8 if you'd like, just to make sure that it's nice and secure. Go ahead and wrap forward. Put your half hitch in. Like I said, with all the flies that I ever build, I always put a half hitch in because you just never know. Snip that down. If you have some of these help a lot. The little hackle pliers with the swivel on them, they work really, really well. Make sure that you actually are able to clip the very tip of your feather, just so you got a good grab on it. And go ahead and palmer this feather in. Sweep your fibers back as you palmer it. You don't want to trap any of this at all. You want as much of it out as possible because you need it to sweep back over the tail of the fly. And go ahead and palmer that whole feather in, that way you don't have to tie in another feather. Just like that. I'm going to give that one more turn. And then come back with your thread and capture it. Try not to put too much tension on this because you can easily snap the feather. Come in, capture that feather just like that. And then it's safe to go ahead and cut this off. See, I used pretty much the entire feather for that tail. Now, sweep all this material back. Just like that. And then bury over top of it to make sure that it's nice and secure. And go all the way back to the barb of your hook, burying this material to make sure that it's nice and locked in, just like that. Okay. Now, this marabou piece was a little bit longer than the original fly, but it's really not that big of a deal. It'll open up a little bit. So go ahead and create your dubbing loop. And there's something you want to do. You can do this before or after you build your dubbing loop. But take your rabbit strip and size it to where you need it, and find where you're gonna have it meet the hook right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it right there, and then take this and punch it through, right through the center of the rabbit strip, just like that. Okay, pop that off, pull that down out of the way, throw your hook back into the vise. Just like that. And you can see if you overshoot it, no big deal, but it's better to come up a little bit longer than a little bit shorter. So now go ahead and build your dubbing loop. You can either do that before or after you build your dubbing loop. It really doesn't matter. Just don't spin your dubbing up without putting that in first. Now, I don't personally tie that into the hook in the back. I just pull it forward, snug it up, and then tie it in up here. But if you want to tie it in back here, you can. So grab your UV done, like I said, the ice dub in my last video. This dubbing dispenser works really well. You can tie 2 of my flies out of just this one dispenser. So get a decent amount of dubbing for this so that you can build a pretty good sized loop. Get that all spread out really, really well. Go ahead and put that into the dubbing loop, and then give it that extra little spread with your fingers. Just like that. Make sure it's centered in the loop the way you want it, just like that. And then give that a really good spin and tighten it up. You don't have to go really tight on this one, but I wouldn't leave it that loose either. Try to avoid your marabou sticking into the dubbing loop because that'll happen every once in a while. Okay, I'm going to loosen this up a little bit, just like that, so that I can pick it up and I can kind of pull some of this, thin it out just a little bit. There's a tiny bit of a taper on this fly, but nothing too big. Spin that back up a little bit, just like that. And then go ahead and wrap your body forward. Go right up behind the eyes really well. Build that up behind the eyes a little bit. Just like that. Get a really good capture on that loop. Just like that. Okay. So with this fly, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your 2 pieces of your rooster neck and you're going to size these the same length as you did to go to the tails. And it's really helpful if you flip your vise upside down like this, because this is how the fly is actually supposed to ride. And then you can come in and you can set these the same length as your schlappen feathers that you put in the back. You can use saddle hackle if you want for the back feathers. I use schlappen, but as you noticed, the schlappen feathers that I did grab did look a lot like saddle hackle. So that's the length you want right there. It's the same length as the blue. Okay, just like that. Clip the rest of that material off. Build yourself another small dubbing loop so that you can figure eight around the eyes. Go ahead and insert that into your dubbing loop. Just like that. Spread it out if you need to in the loop. Bring it really close, and then go ahead and spin that. Just like that. Just so that your loop looks like that right there. And then go ahead and go around your eyes. Make sure you get those good wraps around the eyes. Pull it really well if you have to, just to make sure. And then tie it off to the front. Make sure you got a good coverage on your eyes. Come around it one more time, just like that. Okay. You want to build up around those eyes really, really well. Okay. Get a really good capture on that. Just like that. And then hack it off. Okay, so there's that right there. It's got that really buggy look on the front of it. So I'll bring in this white piece of paper so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, it's got that really, really buggy look. So now you're gonna grab one more piece of white marabou, just like that. And you can double stack this if you want. You don't have to, but grab that one more piece of white marabou and lay it across the top so that it goes and it joins the back feathers. Just like that, okay? You want it to go about a quarter of the way into your overall tail length. If your marabou stops halfway on these feathers, which happens a lot of the times, it's no big deal. Still go, halfway into it or 2/3 into it, but you basically want it to lay just like that so that it covers the entire bottom of the body just like that. Do a pinch wrap to make sure that you can lock it in just right, and then look at it. Don't let it fall out like that. Go 2 wraps on that. Now grab that and just pull it up a little bit, just like this. And you can grab it like that if you want, just to ensure you have the eye of the hook exposed. And then come over it one more time. Pick this up, go in front of it one time, and then clip the rest of this off as close as you possibly can. Just like that, okay? And then come over, wet your fingers, and sweep that back to help keep it out of your way, because it will get trapped when you're tying in this rabbit. So you're going to grab your rabbit strip, you're going to pull forward just like that. And then come over, do your pinch wrap, and lock that in. You could do the same thing. Pull it back once you have it pinched. Don't let go of your thread tension. Pull it back. Make sure you got that eye of the hook exposed. Give it your 3 wraps, and then snip off all your excess as close as you possibly can, just like that. And then go ahead and make sure all your material is buried. Build up a decent little cone on the head of this thing, just like that. Give it a good pull, and then whip finish it out. As soon as I can find my whip finish tool. It ran off on me. There it is. Now for this one, since it has so much exposed and I don't use Zap-A-Gap, I do a second whip finish on it. You can put Zap-A-Gap on this if you want to. It's not really going to hurt it. I just personally don't really use Zap that much unless I absolutely have to. So there it is. Last couple of wraps went right down to the eye of the hook. Give that a good little pull. Okay. And then snip that off. Now, if you notice on this fly, you see where the tails stop and according to where the barring is. So you're going to want to take the rabbit strip itself. It has that little bit of leather on it. What you're going to want to do is move this stuff down, okay? And then you're going to take your rabbit like you do on anything else. You're going to fluff it forward like this. You're going to come down, get your scissors just in and snip it. And you want to get in between the fibers. Stand them up and then get in between the fibers and cut it so that you still have that little bit hanging off of the back when you've cut the bottom that short, okay? So just like that, and that's pretty much the blue balls streamer that I had designed for walleye. So if you have any questions on this, go ahead and drop them in the comments down below. I haven't seen a fly tied like this yet, so I really don't think that this is copying anybody else. But if you guys do think this looks a lot like another fly, or this fly already exists, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know, all right? But as far as I'm concerned, I'm under the assumption that this is another one of the flies that I invented, that I put together, that didn't exist. So like I said, this fly is still in testing, okay? So leave a comment and you guys let me know. Other than that, if you're interested in the content and all the rest of the content that I do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share videos with friends. That way they can check them out and they can go ahead and tie up stuff like this, or get a lot of the helpful pointers, or just flat out laugh with a lot of the other reaction videos that I do. So leave a like on it too if you like anything about it, all right? You guys take care, and I will see you next time.